So we are filming the Chigee versus Carparide versus AOC versus OneCarStereo video again, and you have a flat tyre, so you're pumping your tyres back up again. Oh, good evening everybody, hope you're doing very, very well and having a lovely sunny day. You may notice that my cast wheels are back on instead of the wire wheels. That's because I changed the tyres over to some Trail Attack 3s, ironically the same as the ones that are on this, for this trip that we've got coming up on Friday. I managed to dink the seal, like on the wire wheels, the seal goes around the middle, so it's really easy to nick it, so all the spokes started bleeding air. So my wheels are currently at the KTM centre getting unbleedy. So I feel like a colossal bell at the moment, because look at my dashboard on my KTM. That's the kind of thing you see in the Starbucks car park, isn't it? No comments, please, no comments. Probably about 6 months ago, I had an email from 3 different companies. I, like many YouTubers slash people that put videos on the internet, get these companies messaging all the time, like constantly. Do you want to try our generic crap product that no one's going to want? And normally, I just ignore them because most of the time they're a bit crap. I got offered an Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, SatNav device thing. Maybe unfairly, I ignored them because I was busy, I was on holiday. I've had this thing for quite a while now, which is the Garmin Zumo XT, the first one, not the XT2. It's fine, it works well, but it's just a Garmin, if that makes sense. Like, this is going to kill my bike battery. I'm going to end up calling Emma, like, Emma, can you come get me? If you haven't updated the maps for a while, there's quite often times where the maps are wrong. It has got a form of live traffic, but it'll be maybe like an hour ago this bit of the road was really busy. It's not right now. I started getting a little bit more annoyed with it, with stuff like my new commute is 80 miles each way. If I set off on my bike and I was like, oh shit, I didn't put Spotify on to listen to music, I can't access it. If I did the Hey Cardo play music, play Spotify, it would just play anything. So that could be Christina Aguilera, it could be Basement Jaxx, literally anything. And I can't scroll through it on the Garmin. Joe and I went to France last year, as you would have seen in these videos here. He's got an Africa Twin. It's got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay built into the Africa Twin's dash. And I was just like, that's just really quite good. Just having Google Maps, Waze, or whatever your navigation choice is, Kalimoto, you can scroll through Spotify, you can go through your playlist, you can access your WhatsApp messages, you can reply to WhatsApp messages if you want. I started doing a bit of research on them before I replied. Every single video seemed far too positive. Oh my god, this is the best thing ever. Why haven't I had one of these sooner? This has changed my life. My bike won't ever be the same again. You can stick it on any bike. And I'm like, oh, they can't be that good. So I started reading through some of the fine print. I'm not going to name names of who says what and who whatever, but a couple of these companies have stated that they will send me a device. I need to make a video within a week stating how good it is, pretty much. I also need to talk about how many discounts they've got and how it's amazing and how it's the best thing ever, how it's changed my biking, all that sort of stuff. Long story short, I went back to all of them at the same time and said, look, I'm happy to do a review on this, but I'm not doing a video in a week. I need to test the thing, like I'm actually going to use it, and I'm going to do a comparison against 3 others. I did say 2 others to them, but meh. I've got another one. So anyway, I've got all of these devices. I've been using them on and off for maybe 2 months now, against the will of the companies that have asked me for these videos. If you're watching this, sorry. There are definitely some pros and cons for all of them. They all run the same software pretty much. So give it 2-3 more months, there will be a host of other ones on there, because it's just going to be, how do we plug Android Auto or Apple CarPlay into our device? I can't say I'm upset about any of them. There's definitely one standout, one that I've been using all the time. It's the one I took on the Super Duke trip that you'll see in a couple of weeks' time. It's the one that I'm going to take to France on Friday, and it's definitely the nicest one. It's not a million times better than the others. I'm going to cut in parts of clips. opening the boxes and stuff like that from the other week when I filmed it, but I just thought that video was a little bit boring of me just sitting in my office. I'll put the names of these on screen because they've all got different names. This is the AOC. This is by far the cheapest one on my dashboard at the moment, on my handlebars at the moment. This one is, I think it's about 105 quid or something mental cheap. It's so cheap. All of these are 5-inch. I think these three here are 5-inch. This one is a 6-inch but slightly longer display. One thing I will say, and I told the companies that I will say this as well, is that there are many versions of these. These are not the only ones they have, so go and check them out if you're interested. First impressions looking at it, it's quite thick and it's quite plasticky. There's quite a few things on this that it just seems quite cheap. Maybe not cheaply made, maybe that's unfair, but if it was buried in your bike dash, you literally wouldn't notice. This massive AOC logo on here kind of takes away some of the premium feel, in my opinion. If I look on the back of this as well, you might not be able to even see this, so I might have to cut in. There are some buttons on the side, which are very tactile, actually. I'll give them that. You can use these with gloves. But yeah, the overall, it just feels a little bit cheap, I guess. But that's because it is 105 quid, 103 quid, I think it is. Because I'm hashtag influencer, there's discount codes for all of these in the description. Some of them are like 30% off. Second on the dash is this one, which is the Carpuride. This is probably the one that most people are most familiar with. This is the 5-inch version of the Carpuride. They do have a 7-inch version, which is much bigger. I feel like it dominates the dash a little bit too much. You can't even see it because there's so many things cast in the shadow. The KTM's TFT is a 7-inch TFT, and just having that again up here would be so big. It does come with a sunshade that I've managed to break because I shut it in the door of a Transit when I had it for ABR. Slightly thinner, just a little bit plainer, which for me shouts more premium. I know it sounds weird, but when you've got a device that's just covered in angles and vents and all sorts of stuff, but it's made of plastic, it feels cheap. This is the OneCarStereo. I think this might be the L200. I can't really remember. This one has shocked me in that I think it's a really nice display, really nice size, really nice shape, form factor. It's slightly thinner. It feels like a smartphone. Like if I put my Samsung S24 next to it, they look pretty much the same, apart from my Samsung's obviously got metal edges and is thinner. Overall, the display on this is probably my favourite, like as in size-wise. There are some shortcomings on this, which we'll get onto in a minute. And then going in with the most expensive, which is buried away on the bike, but that is because that's the one I've had on the bike for the longest, is the Chigee AIO5. Now, I mentioned I only had 3 devices sent to me from emails, which is true. I was very lucky to have the guys at a bike thing offer me a Chigee to throw into the mix. Steve basically said to me he wanted to know whether the Chigee was the best. He's obviously seen Carpurides, he's seen a few others, so he knows it feels the best, but he wanted to know, like, my opinion, to see if it is worth the extra jump in price, I guess. Let's boot that up. So I've done a total of 2,182 miles and 53.43 hours on with the Chigee. So I've definitely had that on for the longest. So thank you very much to Steve and A Bike Thing for giving me an AIO5 and to test against this lot. It's definitely the one I've been using all the time. I think it's around 380 pounds. I'll put that on screen here somewhere. The one thing I will say about the Chigee is, compared to the others, it just feels like you're getting a premium device, purely from the unboxing experience. The box of the others feel a little bit like just boxes off Amazon or wherever you get them from. They don't feel expensive. There's one of them, I can't remember which one it is, but one of them feels sort of alright, but you open the Chigee and it's got one of those white, thick cardboard lids that you get on phones. Like if you get a new Samsung or you get a new iPad or iPhone or something like that, and you take the lid off it and it's gently slides off and you've got this premium looking device, which is the only thing you see. The Chigee, although it's more expensive, I mean, look at this. It's just, the lid itself is rock hard. If that had an Apple logo, a Garmin logo, or any of the above logo on it, I mean, it even sounds
like good quality cardboard. There's padding inside it. Everything is in branded boxes. They give you zip ties and like crimp connectors, cable splicers. They give you a polishing chamois. They give you stickers, Velcro cable tidies, Chigee Smart Keyring. Immediately opening this, I kind of went, oh, actually that feels quite nice. There's just stuff in here that you, again, not really something you need, and not really something that makes any difference to the user experience. I'm not going to remember that there's a Chigee sticker in here 6 months later, but it just makes it feel more premium and makes you feel a little bit more valued as a customer, makes you feel like you're getting a little bit more for your money.
So it just feels a little bit more premium, a little bit more, I don't know, everything about it just seems a little bit nicer. I don't know what these guys are doing. Are they doing something? Have I got to go? Shall I go? I don't know. I've been doing this for years and I'm still worried about doing stuff in public. So the Chigee itself has got, it's just, you've got your Android Auto modes, you've got all the telemetry as well, so you've got where your voltage is coming from, you've got time riding on the trip. A lot of these come with tyre pressure monitors, and like you can get options with cameras as well. So going the other way, if I was going to be really critical about the Chigee, I would say it could do with being 6 inches rather than 5, like we all could be. And it can be a little bit slow to boot up sometimes, but it's really, I mean, by the time you're ready to set off and go, it's fine. It's all booted up and ready to go. We're off-road, but I'm just going to nip down here because those people are dogging behind me. So it is a little bit dark here, so I do apologise. I'll try and like bump it up in post-production. I am going to leave the engine running on the KTM because I don't want to, you know, not get home. I don't want to faff too much on these. I'll go through each one, tell you what I really do like and what I don't like, because I just want to get this video out. If you're really impatient and you just want to know what I would buy straight away with my own money, it would be probably between the Carpuride and the Chigee. If you have a BMW S, sorry, I'm just winding up the GS boys. They have a mount that the Chigee will go into, so it clips into your nav mount. That also means you can use the whiz wheel thing to scroll through it. The best thing about the Chigee for me is the screen. It is so responsive. I'm going to have to connect my phone, aren't I? Turn my Bluetooth back on, connect to the Chigee. This also auto connects anyway. You can see up here I've got a little Bluetooth signal. I probably should move that, shouldn't I? So now you can actually see the Chigee. So here you have maps, you have a Luna George, which I was listening to earlier. This is basically the Android Auto setup, so it's really, really simple. The map is just really responsive. There is a little bit of delay, but it's so responsive. You've obviously got your notifications. I've got a dick pic from Ollie, Dave Ashpole's telling me about his life again, and Rich Morrison wants me to make him something 3D printed. On here you've obviously got your phone screen background, you've got all the apps that you can use. You've got your phone, your Patreon, Spotify, Waze, Telegram, WhatsApp, any of those sorts of things. If I go into Spotify, I can actually go in and scroll through anything I've recently listened to, Teapot One podcast. It's so nice to actually use this screen, like it just feels like a phone screen. There's very little glare that I've found anyway off this screen, which is quite hard, and it's something that's quite apparent on a lot of these. Although I don't have a sunshade or anything like that on this, I've not had it react to the rain at all. Even if it does though, there's a big button on the top here, so screen lock there, and then it goes down the bottom, you've got an unlock logo and you can literally just unlock. It doesn't matter, it just does not respond, which is great. You've obviously got power and home buttons and everything up the top here as well. The other thing I really like about both the Carpuride and the Chigee, you have two options for power. You have a USB, or you have the one that goes to the battery, like the accessory port one. Right, Carpuride plugged in. As you can see, it boots up a lot faster. One thing I will mention on all of these is that I have my Cardo connected to my phone, and I have my phone connected to the device. I don't have anything else connected. I don't have my Cardo connected to that. It just caused more problems than it was worth. All of my music can be controlled and everything, and I can call out from the Chigee or the Carpuride or whatever. When I get a call, it comes up on the screen. Booting up the Carpuride, not quite as nice of a screen or a layout, or basically a look, should I say. Quite a lot more personalization of features in this one. Like you can change the start screen to have whatever you want on it, which is quite nice. Again, straight away, same kind of thing. You've got your maps, you've got your setup, you've got the same background and everything on here. I don't think it's as reactive, like the screen, I mean. Honestly, it depends on the day, but sometimes it's really slow, like you move and then it moves. Sometimes the names take a while to come up. I don't know whether that's processing power, I don't know whether that's just its connection to my phone, maybe the Chigee is slightly stronger. It's really not something you have to worry about. But the one thing I will say is, although in theory that's the same screen as the Chigee, size-wise, that feels bigger. The negatives with the Carpuride for me, personally, is, and I also put this on my story and quite a few people replied and said the same thing. One, the glare of the screen is quite a bit worse. It's not something that would stop me buying it, but it's definitely not as good as something like the Chigee. Again, it's no real worse or better than the Garmin. It does have the sunshade, so it's not as bad, but it does react quite badly to the rain. The other thing that's quite nice about this is on the home screen you've got very quick access to stuff. Like, look, I mean, I'm just changing the background by hitting that. Slightly bigger screen, which is really nice. More customization. Feels a bit more plasticky. Feels a little bit cheaper. Doesn't feel as cheap as the AOC. If I have the Chigee on my bike, I don't feel like it brings the feel of the bike down. Honestly, a pet peeve, like one of my absolute all-time hatreds of the biking community, is that someone will buy a 25 grand or 30 grand bike, even a 15 grand bike, and then they will go and stick AliExpress parts on it, or they'll stick on AliExpress crash bars, or whatever it is, and I'm like, you've just spent 25 grand on a Multistrada V4S and you are sticking AliExpress crash bars on it. What is wrong with you? Because also they look shit. Let's be honest, they look shit. And also they're not going to protect the bike. If I stuck on the Chigee on any bike, I wouldn't feel like it felt cheap. Same thing with a Carpuride, I'd have to take this top cover off because that feels plasticky. Let's go next down the list. This one, which is the OneCarStereo. All the writing's in Chinese, so I don't know what that says. They all run these kind of connectors, which are just like plasticky. I'm going to have to be quick because this battery's going flat, and it's also 8:45. Just like plug in like that, and they screw together. Oh, you can see what I mean with this screen. It's just really nice. With the Chigees, it's metal, and it just looks so much more premium, whereas all the others are very plasticky. Let's blast through this because I'm conscious that you lot are going to be really bored. By far, this one is the nicest screen for me. I think the pictures look really, really nice. The layout is really, really nice. It's obviously a slightly bigger screen. It boots up Android Auto really quickly. If I'm being really picky about the Android Auto layout, stuff's a bit small. This bar on the side could easily be twice the size. Put on my glove and I'll show you what I mean. I'm not going to use that because that's actually got the little nubbin thing. So I use this finger here. If I try and press the phone application, it'll work straight away. Now you watch. See what I mean? Or if I use the little nubbin, still can't do it. There you go. It just end up calling the KTM centre. Mark Anal, you're still saved as Mark Anal on my phone. So they're a little bit small for me. They could definitely do with being bigger so you can actually press the button. I couldn't find a way of closing this, so I think this is almost like a stationary layout. The screen is a little bit laggy on this, if I'm being completely honest. I move and then it moves after. Move. See what I mean? Everything takes a while to load. There we go. Eventually it gets there. Eventually gets there. Still not loaded this part. We can do it. Let me move it a little bit further. There you go. I think again this will be processing power. It's a real shame with this one because it's so close. The screen is absolutely spot on. Like, I would swap the Chigee, the Carpuride, AOC, any of those screen sizes and look for this one any day of the week. I think this one feels really premium. It comes with tyre pressure monitors and all that sort of stuff. I would easily spend another 50 quid, 100 quid to get it to the Carpuride level of screen, like responsiveness and stuff like that. But this format, if that makes sense, it's got a little lock button in the top corner so you can lock the screen, which I found really useful. This one does react to the rain quite a bit as well. The glare's a little bit meh as well on this, so there's one big thing that immediately let this one down. If we go into settings, there you go, some of the spellings. Language, i.e. langues. Just stuff like that. You're like, oh, that's really, really simple. And there's a couple of others. I can't remember where the other spelling mistakes were. A lot of these have got auto night and day modes on them. They're done by time. There's no light sensors on them, I don't think. I've not had them respond to a light change, like going through a tunnel or anything like that. So I don't know whether it's once it gets past 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever it is in the evening, that's then changing. This one for me has the most potential, but there's corners cut. So that's that one. Let's quickly plug in the AOC, shall we? That was very... Oh shit, I've just melted it. That's just been on my exhaust. That's not good, Sam. Is this even going to boot up now? Yeah! Once again, I've got the same setup. It works fine. I would be more than happy with this, like on the Monkey or something like that. Just something that I don't need anything really, really nice. I'm going to be green laning it a lot. You don't want a really, really nice expensive Chigee to go on your green laning bike, because if you drop it, you don't want it to break. That is where I would use this. It's still very good. There's no spelling mistakes that I could find anyway. Keep in mind that this one is £100, so it's half the price of the Carpuride and this one. You do get quite a lot with this. You get a little controller that goes on the dash and stuff like that. This is quite quick to respond, which I will give it credit for. It definitely does panic a little bit. I give it, I mean, so I don't know where I am now. It's just jumped somewhere. Oh, I'm in Finland, okay. There's obviously just an element of processing power where it's trying to catch up with itself. The icons are much bigger, so you can actually go in and like actually hit them. I mean, I know I'm doing this with a bare finger. With a bare finger? No, this is a human finger, Sam. Sorry. See what I mean? It's just a little bit laggy, and then all this stuff doesn't actually load properly. Oh, it takes a while to load. It feels cheap for me, and I mean that's because it is, right? It's £100, which is very, very little money for a device that's this capable. You still have your volume very easily accessible. You still get your brightness very easily accessible. Settings very easily accessible. There is a speaker in this one as well. I wouldn't use it. It sounds pretty tinny and crappy, if I'm honest. If you had it on a nice bike, people would know it was a cheap device. It looks a bit bulky. It looks a little bit, you know, in like the early 2000s where loads of companies kept revealing devices. I've got these cooling fins on the back, and like I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and look at my cool neon setup and all that sort of stuff. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. It does boot up quite quickly. There you go, straight away in there again. It's still a very, very good device, and when you tell someone that's £100 before discount, I mean, it's a brilliant device for the price of it. You can tell it's cheap. That's kind of where I'm getting at. The other thing that's quite good with this is that you can singe it on your exhaust for 10 minutes while you're talking about a different device, and it still works. Just while I'm here, because I'm an absolute utter child. God, that sounds good. Sorry, everyone. If I was going to be... I don't even know whether you can see me, so I do apologise, but if I was being very, very critical about all of them, that criticism would be that all of the mounts are just a little bit crap. They're all either too secure that they're not easy to take off to sort of run inside with it, but they're also not secure enough that you couldn't just steal them. The Chigee, for example, has got the Allen keys that have got a bolt, like a point in the middle, so you have to have a specific type of Allen key to get them to actually get it off. It definitely feels like you could break it off if you really tried. Do you reckon this couple's doing the deed? Should we have a look at it and see if they're doing it? Oh no, they're not doing it. That's a shame. For example, with this one, I mean, you're not going to be able to see because it's pitch black. I have to do something in post-production to lighten this up. The OneCarStereo has like a ball mount thing that you can move around, which is brilliant, and it uses one of those locking Allen key things. But the main mount to it is just a normal Allen head. So what's the point of using a locking Allen head for one part of it, and the other part is just a normal Allen key? The Carpuride is just a ball mount, so you could literally walk up and walk off with it. So it's the easiest one to take off with you. I wouldn't feel confident leaving it on the bike like that. The AOC, I'm pretty sure I could just rip off with my hands right now. I'm not going to, but you might be able to see it sort of wobbling around. I think they should all spend a little bit more money making a better mounting system. Obviously the Chigee's got the option of using the BMW nav mount, which is a really good idea, but I mean it's not good enough for this bike, is it? Let's be honest. If I were to replace my Garmin with any of them, it would be the Chigee. The Carpuride is not far behind. The OneCarStereo has got the recipe there. If they sorted out the screen so it was more reactive and more responsive, and they sorted out the simple mistakes, like simple mistakes like the spelling, that would almost take it over all of the others. If you're not worried about cost and you're wanting something a little bit more premium feeling, a little bit more like something you feel special opening the box, Chigee all day long. So yes, I'm going to wrap up now because I've been rambling for hours, probably. Thank you very much to all of the companies that have provided me with these, and a big thank you to Steve at A Bike Thing for just giving me a Chigee to go along with this test. I really, really appreciate it. Links in the description to all of them, discounts for all the other three, and I will see you in next week's video. Goodbye.